started when I was 13 or 14 years old. I started getting severe abdominal pain, and we didn't really know why, but it was also, it kept repeating every month, so we assumed it's part of my cycle. I did a surgery where they discovered that I kind of had a problem with my uterus, which they didn't really have a solution for at the time. I have a birth defect where like my uterus did not have a cervix. So among other things, but this was the main problem that they didn't really have a solution for back then. Fast forward that I started taking some hormones so that we can, investigate why not, because I used to get like monthly the pain and everything, but without the actual period. So they decided they're gonna put me on hormones for a couple of years, and but then after a couple of years, I had to stop the hormones because they had their own side effects at that point. So they discovered there might be a solution, and so I went into another surgery. I had a lot of surgeries. I went into another surgery, and I think now they're more than 10. I stopped my hormones, and what happened was I did this surgery, and actually we thought it worked, and celebrations and all that. But then after like a few years, I started getting pain again, and this time there were like severe infections, and apparently it wasn't really, there was no solution. I'm 29 years old now, and 18 months ago, we took the decision that I had to remove the uterus. First, actually, because of the whole, again, being in pain for so long, it felt like it was going to be an easy decision, because also I'm not I've never been the kind of person that, is dreaming of the typical, family and all that. So for me, it was like, okay, it's fine. I'm going to reprioritize. And since I also, ever since I knew I had a problem, it was always in the back of my head that this actually, could be the case. So it wasn't like a complete shock to me. So this helped a bit. But also when I actually decided, and when I told my parents, and we were, because you have to schedule the surgery and stuff, this is when it kind of hit me, and I was like, okay, so, I need to, there's a lot that's going to change. And I was in a relationship at that point as well, and this was huge for me because, okay, so I started the relationship with no problem with a uterus, and then mid-relationship I'm uterus, or I don't know how you say it, and without that organ that is going to affect my life and his life, and and so yeah, so it's a bit overwhelming. A lot of positive changes as well, believe it or not, because again, coming back to the pain, and I told you that earlier, the fact that I now can wake up and know that I'm not in pain is instantly like a mood booster for me, because I've woken up a lot, like years and years, woken up with some sort of pain. And now just when I wake up and I don't feel anything, I'm just, it's immediately a very happy day for me. So this was a very positive change for me, honestly, because I didn't realize how this was affecting me. But when I had no pain, it was like, wow, okay. And which makes me go into another level of, appreciating the very small things, like they say, and realizing that health is a blessing, honestly. And we take this for granted all the time, and it's the biggest blessing actually you have. So this was another realization. And as I go along, it's been 18 months. As I go along, there are like more and more realizations that happen on a daily basis. I didn't want it to be down, to be a down relationship. I don't know if that makes sense. So I started overcompensating. The minute I'm out of the hospital, I'm like super energetic, and let's do this, and let's go out, and let's have fun, and I'm, completely ignoring what I'm going through and how I feel about everything, because I just didn't want him to be affected with how I'm feeling, because I felt like it's my, it's my thing, it's not my thing, but it's my fight, and why would I, burden him with it. And at some point, it wasn't really a smart thing to do because I wasn't really concentrating on how I'm dealing and rather how he's dealing, and or not how he's dealing, but how he feels. And this started, feeding on my insecurities because I would be like completely concentrating on how he is today and is he okay? Is he thinking about it? And this is when everything, started, you know obsessiveness about on, okay, so what is he thinking and why are we not talking about it? I completely understand. um I believe I completely understand that it was never a good time for us to talk about it because in anyone's eyes in a relationship, it was, like I said, it was my battle and my fight, so he didn't want to burden me with another thing to think about. But the fact of the matter is, I was thinking about it actively all the time, and it was affecting the relationship. So yeah, this was actually like, and then we decided to talk finally. I decided to talk. I felt, like I had no control, and it was like this disempowering because I felt like I had no control over this, and I feel the need to fix stuff all the time, and I couldn't fix this. But actually, after some time, it hasn't been a lot, but after some time, this is actually like not being in control actually empowered me because I feel like, okay, there's nothing to do. We had a great relationship. It was an amazing, like, it was 2 years and it was amazing. And, he came at a time where I met him, and then 1 month after I started getting very sick. And so he came in a time where I needed this kind of support, and I just appreciate it, and I love him for it. But it's sometimes things do not work out, and it's okay. It's not all the time, but like sometimes I see someone playing with a baby, or going through, though I'm pregnant or something like that, and this is when I feel like, okay, I will never feel that. So this is like a kind of, this is when I feel like, okay, I'm missing something. You know what I mean? Like I'm physically missing something that is affecting a bigger thing. But honestly, it doesn't. It happens, and then I feel it, and I just I let the feelings take over, and then I'm like, okay, خلاص, it's like anything else, and I move on. You know what I mean? It's not consuming my life. It's not making me feel like. It's not a constant thought. It just happens sometimes that I do feel like I'm missing something, and I think it would be like that for the rest of my life, and I'm accepting that. And this is how I'm actually dealing, is the fact that I know that this is affecting the rest of my life, and it will affect my relationships, and it will affect a lot of things. But at the same time, I won't let it take over my life. So what will happen is whenever the trigger happens and whenever I feel like that, I'm just gonna let it. I'm gonna feel it and feel all of it and be sad and dwell, as they say. But then I'm gonna wake up the next day and I'm gonna say, okay, خلاص, this is not the end of the world at all. In the end, what actually changed, I think, is how I deal with everything. Honestly, because I had to consciously make myself in the morning, think in a different way and perceive things differently and be very aware of what the triggers that are making me get upset, because all of a sudden they're like things that were happening every day in your life and they don't really affect you, and all of a sudden they're bothering you for some reason. And so I had to become very aware of why is this happening, and then how to deal with it. And so this changed in the way I see things and the way I deal with things, more or less. First of all, it helps me, it helps me move on and feel like you know it's normal, and it helps. And in one way or another, I've found people, when I'm saying this and I'm sharing as like a random story, and I find someone, I had problems for like a year and a half and I didn't know how to deal with it, and then I discovered that someone is currently going through something, and I just felt like there's there's a lot of me out there, and why am I not sharing, and why am I not trying to use what I've been through to, help in any way? I just believe that, like, when you go through something that will affect you for the rest of your life, you need to know that you will never be completely okay all the time, and not being okay is okay. So just live day by day and appreciate the small things. And when you have a down moment, you should just go with it and go with the flow and feel it, and then move on, and then actively make a decision that, okay, so خلاص, I've been sad for a day. I just did that last Friday. Something bothered me on Friday, and I woke up on Saturday. I was really upset. And then, in the afternoon, I'm like, okay, let me, just, it's a switch kind of thing. And because if you live your life feeling like, oh, I don't want to, freaking out every time you're down, and why am I sad? And it's just, you dwell more, and it takes a longer time than rather just, deciding that this is okay, and I'm going to be sad for a bit, and then I'm going to be happy for more days to come. It's not, it's a kind of reaction that I get sometimes, the pity thing. Mm-hmm. The pity thing doesn't really, I don't. But at first it used to really bother me. But now I understand that there are people who can't really differentiate between empathy and sympathy. And this is them trying to be, feel like, they're giving me the right kind of reaction. So now it doesn't really bother me that much. At first I hated it, and it was kind of why I, really choose the person I'm telling, because I would, if this person would give me a sympathy reaction, then I would just avoid it. But now I completely understand that some people this is their way of, trying to feel your pain. And I've got people, treating it like okay, wow, this is very cool, you're very strong, and then we move on. And I love that. You know what I mean? And I got that actually a couple of days ago, because I said something, and I said that it was like, oh, you're very strong, oh, you don't look like you we didn't know, you don't look like this, you've been through all this, and that's great, perfect. And then we moved on to another topic, and this for me is a perfect reaction. Best.
Wonderful.
Yay.